All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Garage Gym Athlete Podcast. Jerred Moon here with Joe Courtney. What's up, Joe?
How's it going, Jay? Happy Wednesday,
Yeah,
in
happy
a way,
Wednesday.
kind of.
It's Wednesday for everybody watching. So we're continuing down this path of solving every problem that could ever come up for a Garage Gym Athlete. So we're talking Garage Gym Athlete problems. We did, Joe and I were kind of talking about this before we got started. A lot of the problems are the same. As we have, because I don't know, we got like hundreds of submissions, but we could really like sum it up into space, equipment, and weather.
Yeah.
And different variations of those things. It doesn't matter. We're going to keep tackling them, even if it means we're going to be tackling them in different ways. But today is actually a little bit different. It isn't in the equipment realm. But this individual has a limited budget starting a garage gym, and they want to know kind of where that money should go. So they're on a budget. What are the essentials? Was the exact questions. What are the essentials that they should be purchasing on a limited budget to start a garage gym? What do they need? And I think that's a great problem to solve. I've written about this in my book, The Garage Gym Athlete. We've put it in our FAQ, kind of what we think you need. And we still answer this question quite a bit, but I think it can vary based off of what you're doing, whether it's our programming or something else. And you can definitely get away with as much or as little as you need. So what do you think, Joe? I know you've been in so many different training situations over the years. You probably know what the bare minimum would be, but on a budget, man, what do you do when you're looking to get gym equipment?
Man, there's so many ways to start and go about this because you got to think about where you want to eventually end up. Like, are you starting slow and will progress over time? Do you just want something to be able to work out 1 or 2 days a week in your garage gym when you don't want to have to go to your gym or wherever you're going? So there's so many ways to tackle it. I think for somebody who's just new to starting to working out, I think kettlebell is one of the best ways to start at first. Get 1 or 2 of those. I recommend 2 or 3 if you can have a variety of ways, just because of different exercises, a lot of different things you can do, whether it's power movement, strength movements, even some endurance, some carry, stuff like that. There's so many things you can do, and it will fit in a tiny space. So like if you have limited space, if you don't want to spend a whole lot, most times, I think every single kettlebell we own, I've gotten secondhand. I might have bought one new, and that's because I wanted it to match the other one that we had for like farmers carries. Nice. And that's basically it. And then I even like got there was another time I got one, like I had a 53 or I had a 50 and I wanted a 53 just because I wanted that standard size, and I wanted the ones with the grip. So I sold my 50 off used, and then I used that money and bought a 53. So like I pretty much all of our kettlebells are secondhand, and that's how you can start, especially on a budget. And also with a budget, it's because of some of the crazy athletes have, it's hard to ever justify a piece of conditioning equipment, especially if you're on a budget, because that's really the big backbreaker as far as when budget comes. And like, you can always run outside. Like even when there's snow, there's people outside running in the snow. I see it all the time. So it's hard to have some excuses for the weather, even though I know it exists. And I know I'm a big baby when it comes to the weather. So that's why I have 3 pieces of conditioning equipment. But as far as budget wise, you starting with kettlebells, I think is a great first step. But again, it depends on where you want to go from there. And I'm interested what you have, and then we can just expand on it.
Picking up where you left off, like the equipment, it's funny, man. I don't think I had a piece of conditioning equipment for like 5 years into the garage gym journey. So you can go for a very long time. And this one hits close to home for me because when I first started out, had no money basically, like at all, like saved, could do anything with when I was starting a garage gym. Didn't want to pay a gym membership. That was part of the reason I was starting a garage gym, but was still, really into fitness. My wife and I were in a ton of debt at that time. And so I, I literally was like thinking the same thing. Like what's the minimum I could get away with? And how I went about this when I actually did it, I've always logged my workouts in some form or fashion. Like even pre Garage Gym Athlete, I was either writing them down in a notebook or whatever. And I took my workout journal from the previous 30 days when it was like time to purchase equipment. So I looked, and I just kind of looked at what I would need. So, like looking at my journal, and then on a separate piece of paper, like, okay, I did back squats, I would need a barbell and weights. And then I just went down that because I didn't want to change what I was doing necessarily. And I think people might be in similar situation, because kettlebell is an absolute great answer to this question. You could get one kettlebell of moderate weight and get nothing else. Like if you're on a like if to be honest, going back to that question we always ask athletes, if you don't have one piece of equipment, I might say kettlebell these days. Just like, hey, I got a kettlebell, that's all I'll use for the rest of my life. Yeah, I'd get boring, but they're super effective. But if you want to keep doing close to what you're doing, I would do the method that I'm talking about and kind of make your dream list. Joe mentioned, like, where do you want to be? And so if you've been working out, say you've been at a gym, maybe you've been at a Globo gym or a CrossFit gym, but you're thinking about going to the home gym space, go over your workout journal over the last 30 days and see how much equipment you would need. And then that's kind of, it's either going to end up being your dream list, or you're going to find out what I found out, which was I didn't need a lot. And I also got really creative with things, like with bands and other stuff, to be able to do exercises without ever needing a machine. Like I think back in the day, I remember I had because I was hitting up a Globo gym, and like lat pull downs were in my program, you know, and I was like, well, I could do a lat pull down with like a metal bar and a band, like that still counts. Not the same, but like it's a similar thing. So I would say do that. The method, if you keep a journal, or you at least know where your workouts were and see what you need. But I think the standard response that we give people, barbell, plates, kettlebell, pull-up bar. I mean, I think that's it. Because we normally say plyo box, but like running, I find I can always find a place to jump. But maybe that's just been places I've lived. But like I always have somewhere I'm like, well, I could go jump on top of that rock. It might not be the perfect 24, 30 inches or whatever, but it's somewhere you can jump, right? And so I think that's about all you need, and you can get away with it, on a fairly low budget. And then the other thing is replacement costs. You can DIY a lot of this stuff. And I mean, that's how EO3 got its start, right? Like we big on DIY equipment, but I was DIYing equipment when it was ridiculously and stupid expensive. Like it's gotten there again because the pandemic brought prices up, but there's also so much competition. There were like one or two manufacturers for people like selling gym equipment to individuals, not commercial gyms. Like it was hard to be like, hey, I want some kettlebells. I'd be like, are you going to buy 50 of them? Like, no, I want one. And they're like, sorry, man, we don't sell one kettlebell. These are conversations I was actually having when I was trying to start my garage gym like a long time ago. So anyway, you do need, coming back to my point, you need to think about quality. And so that can kind of hurt the budget a little bit. There are a lot of great brands out there, but you don't want to get something that you're going to have to replace. I think most of the brands out there are selling barbells these days are going to be pretty good, but I don't think that you need, you need to stay away from probably a lot of the Amazon purchases and Walmarts and those kind of things when it comes to like your staple items in the garage gym. Like when it comes to a barbell and plates, like you don't want things that are going to fall apart and break. And then you're just going to be pissed off that you spent your limited budget on something that wasn't around for very long. Like I've had my barbell, the first barbell I bought, I've had since day one, still use it, and it's all rusted and kind of beat up, but it's not bent. Like it's in great shape and still works for what I need. So those are kind of my thoughts. A lot of places you could go with the essentials and budget related stuff.
Yeah, same. My barbell probably needs a little TLC, but it's still the same. And I've even left it outside sometimes because like being in San Diego and stuff. I think as of right now, like in 2020, I know we were all joking, like, oh, in 6 months, everybody's going to be selling their gym equipment. So you're going to be able to get all this discounted. But that 6 months turned into about 2 years. I think just now on Marketplace, because I've been starting to get on it a little bit, just to see what people are selling. It's people are starting to put up their racks and their weights and stuff like that on there. So might be kind of a good time to keep an eye on that. And again, it depends on where you want to go. Barbell's a great one to start with. I think you don't need a Rogue rack. They are fantastic, but my very first thing that we were doing squats on before I picked out a rack were individual like barbell stands, Y stands or whatever, and they did just fine. And then the rack I have is a Titan, and it's still doing perfectly fine, and it's cheaper than Rogue. But you can find these secondhand all over the place. And I mean, the barbell stuff you can get really far with. But if you really need to like, so for what we took to Bahrain, we didn't take any weights to Bahrain because of shipping. We weren't paying for shipping, but like we just wanted to be more I guess economical with it. And we had the base gym, which is fantastic. We went there all the time, but we still wanted to be able to do workouts at home. And so we had bands, rings, and we bought a sandbag when we were there. And all of that could be bought for like under $200 or about $200. And those three things can get you so much done and so many different improv workouts because you can do all different sorts of things with bands, especially if you're creative enough. Rings are great to have for any sort of body weight things and to challenge yourself through body weight. And then a sandbag you can do a lot with. Go on walks, go do squats, cleans, and you can supplement that 1 or 2 days a week if you have a gym to go to, and you can go do heavy barbell stuff there and be like, okay, I just want to start working out here for 1 or 2 days a week and then save up and eventually, you know, keep on the marketplace watch. And once you find something to grab that somebody wants to offload, there you go. You're all set up.
Yeah. And going back to the DIY thing, you mentioned those stands. Like I forgot, to be honest, we don't talk about DIY enough. I know it's because we've kind of moved away from it, but like, you know, that was like how long I back squatted off of like
4x4s.
4x4 stuck in a cement bucket, like a bucket filled with cement. Like it's kind of funny. Like even when I had the money to buy a rack, I was still using those as like my portable squat stands because I could just like roll them outside or something. Like I had like a mobile squat rack. They are sketchy. And that's part of the reason I don't like to talk about them that much anyway, because you just can get things for so much cheaper. But if you are on an extreme budget, you do one of two things. I would say you could go buy the Garage Gym Athlete book that has all the DIY projects in there, but I don't want to hurt your budget. So you can just Google End of 3 Fitness DIY corner and you'll be taken to a page. You'll find it. All of the projects I've done over the years. I mean, I think there are parallettes in there, homemade rings, which is just so hilarious now because rings used to be expensive. Plyometric box, reverse hyper, 2 different types of reverse hyper, like what else are there? Squat stands, power rack. There's just so many things that I built over the years that you can do. So if you're on an extreme budget, I do think those squat stands are very easy to get away with, like the 4x4s in a cement bucket. They work. You have to be super mentally on point when using them and safe, but they'll do it. I mean, I was above a 400-pound squatter using those for years, you know? And so I think that if I can do it, you can do it too. If you're above a 500-pound squatter, you probably deserve the.
Yeah, I think weight is a big thing. Like, there's probably not going to be that many people are maybe above 300, yeah, but above 4, like that's when you should actually, I think, be looking at certain racks. And like I've moved from, I have Titans, one of their square racks, power rack, and when we were in San Diego, Liz and I would squat at the same time using the same power rack on the outsides of it, and I was like low to mid 300s at the time on my squat, and now I've just moved inside and that's about it. But like I don't feel the need to get another big robust power rack just because I'm lifting more, because it's still completely fine. So just think of where you're at, especially if you're newer to barbell or just newer to that sort of strength training at home. Then like you really don't need something crazy.
Yeah, I try to be a minimalist. Like I prefer more space than stuff in my gym. That's something I've always preferred. So like, and we've talked about this as well. Like I'm at the point where if I get something new, I'm selling something, because not just for the exchange of the financials. It's more like, this is going to take up more space. What space taking item is going away? Unless it's something small like plates or kettlebells or whatever. But yeah, those are all my thoughts on budgets and essentials. I'm sure we could talk about equipment for a long time, but ultimately I'm more about the programming and the doing and the fun stuff. Get whatever you need to get it done. You know, like that's the doing the work is the most important part. What equipment you have is secondary.
Yep.
Awesome. If you guys have any questions, go to garagegymathlete.com. you can hit us up in that little chat bubble we have on the website and submit a problem if you'd like for us to cover it on the podcast. We'd love to do that. So these are dropping on YouTube and also the podcast. So if you're on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to the channel, give us a thumbs up, give us a comment and then let us know what you think of these episodes. And then if you're on the podcast, thanks for listening. Be sure to subscribe. Leave us a 5-star review and a positive comment. We would really appreciate that. But that's it for this Garage Gym Athlete Problem. Thanks for listening to the Garage Gym Athlete podcast. If you want to learn more, go to garagegymathlete.com. You can learn about our training. Let us send you a copy of our book, The Garage Gym Athlete, or you can even get featured on the Garage Gym Athlete podcast. Thanks for listening.